Welcome to Founder Wisdom Podcast with Will Nitze. He is founder at IQ Bar. We're going to talk about CPG, startups, leadership, business lesson, entrepreneurship, and content today. This pod is brought to you by podwire.com. That's my podcasting company. If you want to start your own, scale it, monetize it the unconventional way, feel free to go to podwire.com. Will, welcome to pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about IQ Bar.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I live in Miami with my wife. I am the founder and CEO of IQ Bar. We don't actually have a headquarters. We're remote, distributed all across the US. Very small team, about exactly six office employees, and then we run our own warehouse in Wisconsin. And what we do is we make and sell plant protein bars, hydration mixes, and instant coffees. All of which are brain and body focused. So everything includes functional nutrition that aids you in the way you think and the way your body works.
Let's start with Harvard. How was Harvard for you? 2010, so that was almost like 15 years ago. How was your experience there?
It was a blast. I loved it. I think a common misconception about it is it's not all that hard once you're there. It's hard to get in. It's not all that hard once you're there. Or at least you can make it as hard as you want to, or as not hard as you want to. You learn almost no practical business skills there. Like there isn't even a good example would be there is no finance course. There's only economics courses. So they're really big on theoretical knowledge, not so much on practical knowledge. I used Excel maybe a handful of times in my entire time there. So learned a lot, but not a lot that's applicable to the business world. Made great friends, and had a lot of fun.
And you went in sales and you were like, fuck it, this is not working. I'm better off starting my own startup. How did you get the IQ Bar insight?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what I wanted to do after college. I took a job just by default in software. So I was selling and marketing operations and supply chain software to oil and gas companies. Sounds incredibly random and was kind of random. But good job in that I built all the foundational skills, learned Excel, PowerPoint, data analysis, how to run a meeting, how to sell a high ticket item to a buyer, like all of it. But I didn't like it. I didn't really like software, and I didn't really like oil and gas. And I always wanted to do my own thing. So coincidentally, during that same time period, I got obsessed with nutrition because I felt terrible on a daily basis because I had a terrible diet. And so I was just really focused on fixing that. And I read a couple books that had a big impact on me at the time, one of which was Grain Brain by David Perlmutter. So basically, I became obsessed with low carb eating, and my diet roughly mapped to a paleo diet at the time. And as I shift my diet, I not only felt better in a bodily sense, but the biggest aha moment was how much better my brain felt, how much less brain fog I had. I had less headaches. I was energized, I was mentally fatigued far less. I could work longer into the day. And so then I got really interested in the intersection of nutrition and cognition, and started looking for products that would aid me in that. And there just weren't that many. And there was really nothing in the ready-to-eat category. And so that I just kind of had an idea of maybe I'll make brain food. Like maybe that's the product that I'll do in my kitchen and try to commercialize. So that was what started it.
So we've seen Tom Bilyeu exit Quest. I mean, Quest are definitely not in the same category because they're full of crap. And we've seen that very basic ingredient company, Bear, like what are they called again? They were bought by Procter & Gamble, weren't they?
Are you talking about RX Bar?
Yeah, that's it. RX, like $1 billion exit, or what was their exit again?
$600 million, and Kellogg bought them. I think that was 2016 or 17, something like that.
Right. So pretty impressive in both cases. What's your goal with IQ Bar? Because you created a product for yourself, started the classic, like created in your own kitchen, fulfilled your own needs, and now you're in Costco and you have 1.5 million orders in a single order, which is pretty impressive. Where do you want to take the company?
Yeah, I mean, our goal for this year is to get to 50 million in revenue, which I think is achievable. And then just long term, like own the category, like be the market leader in brain and body nutrition. And we now play in 3 categories, like I said, bars, hydration, coffee. And we want to be a sizable player in all of them, and then the market leader in that category that we're kind of creating. It wasn't really a category before. And then, ultimately sell the company. I don't think some people are sometimes sheepish about saying that, but I have no problem saying that. I mean, that is the ultimate goal. I don't think I want to do this for the next 50 years. So, but you really have to get to 50 million in sales to even be able to sell a consumer product company to a big strategic CPG company, which is kind of crazy that you have to get that big, but that seems to be the case these days.
Yeah, not an easy business. My first business was a nootropic business. Some days we were in the greens, some days we're in the reds. We were mostly online sold. Tried to get in a bunch of retails. We've seen Laird Superfood sort of struggle beginning of last year. Why are you so driven to go into that pain?
To go into our category?
Yeah, CPG. It's
Yeah. I mean, CPG, everyone in CPG has a love-hate relationship with it. I think that the beauty of CPG is it's infinitely relatable. Like you tell people you sell a protein bar, everyone gets it. And you can say, hey, just go to Walmart and you'll see us on shelf. And that's like, people love that. They love being able to see your thing out in the wild, pick it up, touch it, turn it over. And then when you sell consumables, they're literally consuming it. It's becoming a part of them. Like it's also really intimate in that way. And if it's a good product, it helps them feel better. It helps them do things they otherwise couldn't do. So I think all of those things about consumer goods are really cool. And then I also love the fact that it's not going away. Like AI is not going to mean that I'm consuming less toilet paper, right? I still need to go buy toilet paper. I still need to go buy protein bars, whatever. And so it's just durable in that sense. The downside is manufacturing is insanely tough. It's super capitally intensive. The cash flow situation is really difficult. Because especially if you're big in brick and mortar, because you have to make stuff, put it in a warehouse, send it to retail distributors, who then send it to retailers. You're not getting paid on that for many days after you already had to pay for the inventory. And as you grow, the cash flow issue gets harder and harder and harder and harder. And so it's just, you have to be insanely financially prudent, gross margin obsessed, and cash flow obsessed. None of which is fun. And there's only, by the way, there's like a price ceiling. If you're in a category like protein bars, you just plain can't sell for more than X dollars, because if you did, you're just not getting into certain retailers, and consumers are just substituting to someone else, right? So it's not like you can expand gross margin just by increasing price. Like, no, there's a ceiling. So I guess given all of that, why do I do it? Probably because the first bucket of what's fun about it. And I think like the grass is always greener, right? If you talk to someone in software, they're like, yeah, some days I fantasize about what it must be like to sell a tangible item. And then you talk to someone in CPG and they're like, yeah, some days I fantasize about what it must be like to have a 90% gross margin. So it's like the grass is always greener.
Yeah, I still have that chip on my shoulder to come back in the industry again, but I think I'd come back in the luxury field for that price elasticity could decide of the whole price, and the stronger the better. I guess if we drastically simplify it. Want to talk about the brain for a second. So I was selling to students back in the days, then to entrepreneurs. Then we were planning to do a supplement for dementia and Alzheimer. And it's been my feedback that, yeah, some students really cared about their brain because they were taking, ADHD drugs back then illegally, quote unquote, to have better grades at their exams, to have the concentration that they needed and so forth. And they viewed us as a natural supplement, a replacement to that. There was caffeine, the supplement, B6, B12, ginkgo, bacopa, and all these beautiful brain boosters. And as soon as we went to the entrepreneur category, it was like, oh, if people stopped caring about mental performance and so forth, am I wrong in thinking that? Is it only a minority that are thinking about their own health and their own brain health? Or have you seen people care more and more with time about their brain health?
I think they care more and more. I think there's different solutions within that need. So, what we sell is very different than, let's say, Adderall. I mean, Adderall is literally a stimulant. I mean, it's not all that different than meth, right? It's a super stimulant. You're basically speeding up your brain, and it can be very effective, right? It's anyone who's tried it knows how effective it can be. And so, if you are really desiring that acute stimulatory effect, then you're not going to come to us anyway. So it's just a fundamentally different thing. But so I guess the first thing is within that brain function realm, what do you want? You want more like brain health, more sort of like calm energy, and clarity,
Memory.
or do you want to like ramp up your brain to 10 notches? But more broadly over all of it, definitely people are more, interest has gone up every year in terms of focus on the brain. We look at it more in terms of like a nutritional basis, and actually I think it's just as much what you don't consume versus what you do consume. So more if you look at it from an elimination diet standpoint, just not consuming carbohydrates, especially simple carbohydrates, and consuming more fats and protein is going to make you crash less. So it's more of like the absence of a negative than the existence of a positive. And if you can just root out the negative, you're already like most of the way there. Most people crashing in the, at 2 p.m., that's not because they didn't consume brain nutrients. It's because they did consume things that spike their blood glucose and then crash their blood glucose. So I think people usually overlook that side of it, and they're like, oh, how do I just ramp up my brain? Not how do I eliminate things that are tanking my brain?
Right. Yeah, I see you have various combo on your website, and it reminds me that supplement because, well, put 200 milligrams of caffeine in a pill, and yeah, you get effect. And also, it was funny because there was placebo in there too. People thought that literally when they would take our little purple pills, they would take some form of Adderall or modafinil. And some people were even like, yo, I'm freaking out, like they had the symptoms of, yeah, taking amphetamines, which was quite interesting. Now, in your formula, I need to ask because it seems to me that it's obligatory in the US to put like the vitamin D content. Why don't you put some vitamin D content in there?
Uh, what on which product?
Pretty much all of them, because vitamin D, the problem with it is if you take it on an empty stomach, you might get the aches, but vitamin D is a brain booster, and I see like 0% everywhere. You should just have something in there.
Yeah, we don't add vitamin D. So like if you take our bars, right? We're not adding vitamin D in any capacity. We could, right? We just don't. We're not actually adding. Um, well, we add vitamin E, but beyond that, we're not actually adding. minerals and vitamins. Mostly the product is centering on whole food ingredients that are the richest in the desired end brain nutrient. So like an example would be, flavonoids, right? Which is a polyphenol, really good for your brain. What is the berry that's highest in flavonoids? Blueberry. Okay, so we're gonna have blueberry bar and a lemon blueberry bar. What's the leaf that's the highest in flavonoids? Matcha. Okay, we're gonna have a matcha bar. What's the bean that's highest in flavonoids? Cocoa bean. Okay, we're gonna have like chocolate, et cetera, et cetera. And we do that for each nutrient, but we're not actually, it's not a supplement. So it's a food product. And so of that spectrum of like supplement to food, we're trying to be on this side of it and to be a brain healthier option than like, let's say, a Clif Bar. On our hydration side and the coffee side, we actually can make claims around that, and we actually are using so for example, we use Magtine. I don't know if you're familiar with that, magnesium L-threonate.
Right.
At a legit, like at 750 milligrams, a dose where we could literally make claims like improves memory, improves clarity, yada yada. There's actually a wild amount of stuff we could say. But we actually don't say most of it, but you're getting closer towards like the supplement side of things. But yeah, on the vitamin D side, it's just not one that we centered on, and we sort of did the risk reward of like fortifying with it, and it just opted to not do that.
Because most folks in the US and Canada are deficient in vitamin D, especially in Canada, and especially during winters. I mean, the US isn't that much different, so we thought to include it in the second formula for men too, like increases testosterone. So huge game changer. I actually moved to Mexico just for vitamin D mostly, it's quite surprising for folks to hear, but
yeah, I mean, I live in Miami, right? Like I get my vitamin D from sun. But yeah, no doubt most people are. I mean, I think that really came into focus during COVID because so many people were deficient in vitamin D, and it was so correlated with bad COVID outcomes.
Right. What does your daily routine looks like? You must biohack quite a lot. What does it look like?
I'm not even that much of a, maybe it's surprising. I'm not stacking and mixing and matching supplements all that much. But so I take creatine, I take collagen, I consume our own products. So I take a lot of magnesium, and in particular magnesium L-threonate. There's this a buddy of mine named Alan started this company called Do Not Age, and he sent me a bunch of their stuff to this new compound called CERT6. I don't even know what it stands for, but it's incredibly anti-inflammatory. So I take CERT6 and resveratrol and curcumin, all predominantly for anti-inflammation. And then honestly, a big focus is just macronutrition. So just trying to eat a gram of protein per pound of weight daily, and cutting and keeping really low carb. But I'm not all super obsessive about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've gone over that phase too, of overthinking and planning everything. I think it just comes natural, and I shared similar stack to you. The CERT6, I'm gonna research it. Resveratrol, I stopped it because the science was sort of shaky. Might start NAD plus. There's Neurohacker that wants to ship me a bunch of their supplement. There's, I think, Biooptimizers. They want to ship me their magnesium. Right now I'm using Torn, the magnesium complex. Magnesium is game changer. It's like responsible for more than 1,000 reaction in the body. And especially if you go at the gym, you need that for muscle recovery. You just sleep better as well. So yeah, pretty cool. Need to ask for your products. You have various category. How do you decide, for example, that you want a hydration mix and then a mix for hot drinks? Like, I mean, these two are somewhat similar, but how did you determine which one to go in?
Yeah, it's a really complex thing actually. Because, so first of all, we didn't want to do what I think most people do, which is you create something that can cannibalize the first thing. So like maybe you have bars and then you make bites or peanut butter cups or something like that. And it's a similar value proposition. So now I might eat this instead of that. So I actually didn't like commercially, that doesn't never made a lot of sense to me. So I wanted to create things that were non-cannibalizing and totally complementary, meaning you could consume this and that, and one is not stopping you from the other, and they're synergistic. So that's why I like bars, hydration, coffee. There's actually zero cannibalizations. You're never consuming one instead of the other. Rather, they improve the experience of the other. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing is just there's a series of honestly, commercially minded boxes that needed to be checked. So needs to have a long shelf life, needs to be ship friendly, meaning e-commerce friendly, needs to be a large and growing market, ideally that's like especially hot at the moment. So actually instant coffee is getting really hot right now. Powdered hydration is really hot right now. And needs to have a 40% or higher gross margin, like right out the gate, even when we don't have a ton of volume. So anyway, there's like a laundry list of things that had to be checked off. And basically where we netted out was hydration, caffeination, and then sleep are the three we were interested in. And we started with hydration and caffeination. I'm still interested in sleep. It's just it's harder to differentiate, to be honest. Like everyone kind of puts out the same product. I do think there's space for non-melatonin. Well, first of all, everyone does melatonin, right? Which I didn't really want to do for a variety of reasons. I do think there are some players and there's some room for disruption in the non-melatonin space. So like apigenin and chamomile extract and magnesium L-threonate. But the problem there is, and you just learn this from dealing with consumers, I can just guarantee a zillion people will leave negative reviews because they'll say it doesn't work, right? Because they're used to melatonin, which frankly does work. It's not great for you, right, to consume it because you become dependent on it and yada yada, but it worked. It'll put you to sleep. And so now you're fighting a never-ending current of people comparing you to something else that is going to have a greater feedback loop. So it's a tricky category, and still would love to do something in it, but that's kind of our thought process.
Yeah, fully get you on that. Fully right. In terms of growth, see you do a lot of influencer marketing. You must be doing some outreach as well to get into more retailers. What's on the growth map for this year?
Yeah, I mean, we're in about 10,000 locations. We're trying to not so much get a lot more locations, but just grow within those locations, do more business within them. We're definitely weighted towards the bar side, and we're trying to grow hydration and coffee this year. And actually, our hydration product is going in onto Costco.com, which will be a massive, massive growth opportunity for us. And then if we do well there, the ultimate holy grail is getting hydration into Costco brick and mortar stores. And that would just be, whatever, $10 million account if we could do that. So that's a huge goal. And then same with coffee. And then e-commerce, we're an e-commerce first business. We're started online. The majority of the business still today, even at 10,000 locations, majority of the business is still online. And so that's just doing more of the same, like continuing to execute and grow top and bottom line, invest more dollars. Just did a big rebrand. Actually, just today we launched a new website. So I think that'll help. But it's no one thing. It's like 10 different things that the aggregate of which I think will help us double the business.
What about your content on LinkedIn? It's pretty damn cool. You're pretty creative. How do you come up with these ideas, and what's your take on LinkedIn content?
Appreciate that. I'm a little bit weird in that regard, in that I don't have I think a lot of people have like a template or a structure, and They're very specific about the hooks they write and the posts they write. They try and stay within content zones. And I do none of that. I utilize it more so as like a journal. It's sort of like a digital journal for me. One of the cool things about running a startup is, as a byproduct of that, you just have all these micro insights throughout the day. You realize like, oh, I thought something worked this way, and based on this experience I just had, it actually works that way. And that's like a micro insight. And most people have, let's say, 5 or 10 of those throughout the day running a startup, and they don't do anything with it. And what I do is I take that and I write it down. I add it to a Google Doc. It's just an ongoing list, a bulleted list. And then every morning I wake up and I open the doc and I just sort of scan it. One of them jumps out at me. I grab it and I flash it out and I click post and I move on. So that it's very little structure, but I don't think I would it's not my job, right? So I'm not like relying on it for revenue or anything like that. And so that gives me the freedom to sort of do whatever I want. And that makes it frankly better. And I think resonates with people.
In your wardrobe, in the shower, then there's comics, and I mean, so much cool ideas. I really love how you put up the content there. It always gets a ton of interaction. So very cool. And keep on doing that. Where can people find out more about you, Will?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, LinkedIn's a good spot to find out more about me personally. And then iqbar.com, IQBAR, is where you'll find all our products and more about the company. We're also on Amazon. And then go to our website, though, if you want to check out all the stores we're in and go to a local store. We should be somewhere near you. So yeah, those are the spots to find us.